Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Force for Growth Show. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Michelle, and we have Sam Litrico on today.
Hey.
Super excited to talk to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi there. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited.
How are you, Sam?
I am doing wonderful, feeling abundantly blessed and fulfilled.
And so you are a firewalker, self-development rock star, to say the least.
That is very true. Anybody that has the opportunity to walk on fire, I definitely recommend it.
But yours is one of the most interesting stories about walking on fire, right? Because you have cerebral palsy.
I do.
So tell us a little bit about that fire walking experience.
Sure. Well, I will say when in regards to cerebral palsy, there are some perks. I do get to the front of the lines at airports and I get my own parking spaces. So always got to look for the silver lining. So I've really learned throughout my 30 years of being on Earth that it's really about perspective and ultimately what we do with the cards that we're dealt and making the absolute best of our circumstances and situations. And that's really what I've done my entire life and not allowed it to be something that would stop me. So I was able to walk on fire. Yes, we made it happen.
In addition to, just real quick, I know it's a big old long list, but tell us some of the other things that you've done that may surprise people, and then we can move on from this.
I mean, I consider myself, or I strive to be pretty humble. I think that I
want you to brag, because I know you've been skydiving.
I'm sorry?
You've been skydiving.
I have been skydiving,
right.
So that was something that was on my bucket list that I was super fired up to do. So I did that. I've gone zip lining. I've done bungee jumping. So I guess I have a pretty adventurous spirit, despite my circumstances and anything that I've ever really wanted to do. I find a way to make happen. I've had the privilege of at a young age of age 21, 22 in business to run my own business, hire and train my own sales team. So just some business experience that I had the privilege of doing at a young age. I also have a book out with a friend of mine, Miss Ashley Rodriguez, and I have a coaching business as well. So again, anything that I've ever really been inspired to do, I want to find a way to make happen. And I encourage other people to do the same.
What is your book called? And how do we get it?
It's called Time for Change, and it's a relationship guidebook. And it basically has a series of different challenge activities that we ask the reader to complete in regards to different categories of relationships in our lives, all really designed to just help stimulate better connection and intentionality with those relationships. So it is something that can be found on Amazon.
Awesome.
Yay. Man, I got chills for real, because all this stuff that you just listed out, you're like, bing, bang, boom, bang, bang. And it's like, ain't nobody stopping me.
And you're 30. I mean, you've done a lot in a short amount of time, Sam.
Thank you.
Done a lot in a short amount of time. So anybody who has some excuse, some BS limiting belief, man, you can overcome. Like, you're a pure example of overcoming and not letting the BS mindset beliefs get to you.
I appreciate that. And one thing, sorry?
Go ahead. You go.
Oh, I was just going to say one thing that I found, though, is that everybody in this life has challenges. So it isn't just to say that just because mine are predominantly physical and can be seen that like my challenges are worse than yours or the next guy, because they all manifest themselves differently. And again, I think it all just goes back to how we take the challenges that we have in our lives and how we handle them. So
that's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your coaching. Sam's coaching her. If you guys want to get in touch with her regarding her coaching, letyourlightShineCoaching@gmail.com. You can email her and get more information, but tell us all about that.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. So this is something that has just been on my heart and a passion for me for many years. So it is so exciting that it is finally up and running. So right now, my main niche that I've been working with is young entrepreneurial women that are really excited about, futures that they want to create for themselves, but are just feeling a little bit stuck, whether that's in self-confidence or self-doubt, self-sabotaging thought processes, and really being able to, dive in and explore, like, at the core, what created those things and how to overcome it, right? So that we can move forward and experience transformation from a personal standpoint, and then also in business too. So
Wow.
I have an 8-week program and then a 3-month program.
Way to go.
Love it. Yeah.
And for more information on the coaching, the email address is right here. letyourlightshine.coaching@gmail.com. And you can get in touch with Sam Litrico regarding that coaching program. So I also know something else. We do a word of the week weekly, right? Tell us about your word of the, and I'll let you fill in the blank, but you did your own version before we even started doing our version of word of the week. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. So one thing that I started, this was a few months back, to kind of kickstart the year the right way. I thought about, okay, what are qualities or attributes that I would want to define myself by, or just be able to show up more in terms of, being courageous, being brave, being compassionate, right? So choosing essentially a word each day that I made a focus on trying to, exhibit or demonstrate in the way that I showed up to other people. So I did this for about 30 days and I chose 30 different words, and I tried to make it so that I would compile, each word and move on to the next one. And essentially by the end of the 30 days, I'm trying to exhibit all 30 of the qualities. Although after the experience of the 30 different words each day, it kind of got hard to manage and keep track of. So the one thing that I would do differently from that experience, I really like the idea of a word for the week and doing that particular quality throughout the course of the entire week, because I think that really gives it a chance to take shape and really make like a longer term impact if you do it for a whole week versus one day.
Yeah, but you go, girl. You go, girl. That's all I got to say for that one. You go, girl, doing it for every day for 30 days.
Thanks, Ricardo.
You go, girl. And you finished it, right? You was chugged through and you finished the 30 days.
I did. It makes me think I need to restart again.
So Sam, you're pretty young, well, compared to me, but how early did you start getting into personal growth and development? Because you're a rock star, and so you have to have. I mean, it's clear that you've had some experience with personal growth and development, and really setting your mindset. So, how long have you been doing that? What are some of the tools that you use that you would recommend to other people to be a rock star too?
Oh, I love this question. So I was very privileged at a young age to work with a company called Cutco Cutlery and Vector Marketing. And so through that experience, I started when I was 18 years old, and it taught me how to sell the Cutco product. And we learned how to do in-home presentations, ask for leads. That's where I learned about leadership and development. So through that process, like over the 10, 12 years that I was with that company, we were immersed with a lot of personal growth type of material. Like we were actually required to read, different, Think and Grow Rich, Tony Robbins. So I was just very lucky to have mentors and be in an organization where that was the norm. And it was my first job. So that was really all I knew. So as a result of being in that influence of like-minded, growth-oriented people, it's just something that's really stuck with me ever since. So I think that anyone that, has desires for personal growth and development, I think circle of influence is huge, right? Like who you surround yourself with, and making sure that they're really like-minded and that they're going to be very supportive of you and your goals and your ambitions. It makes all the difference. I think that, there's so many great podcasts out there, audios, if you don't necessarily like to read, but reading is amazing. I mean, there's just so many different avenues out there. So you just have to find what works for you.
Man, so no excuses. There's no excuse to not learn and grow. That's
Right.
what I'm hearing.
I agree.
That's what I'm hearing. And actually, the one thing, I think that's really the number one thing. If I had to pick the number one thing that makes the biggest difference is who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we always default to friends and family and things like that. But the fact that you fell into a great company that promoted self-development, that's also another great place to find your peer group. Learn about self-development, learn about growth, because your employment can also get you there. It can also mold you into the person that you are. So let me ask you this. As part of your coaching and as part of your life, I know that you're also a speaker and you speak and you like to talk about self-development and growth. What's the one thing that you could probably tell everyone that they need to go do right now to improve themselves right away?
The first thing that popped in my head without even hesitating is monitor your thoughts, right? Because ultimately, the way that we think, whether it is empowering or disempowering, ultimately triggers like the way that we end up feeling in our state. And then the way that we feel ultimately typically determines the action that we take. And then the action that we take really determines the quality of our lives and the results that we produce. And so, the first thing that if you have a desire to be better than you are currently, the first piece of advice that I could ever give is just monitoring your thoughts and being aware of the negative tendencies and when they're showing up and learning how to essentially counteract those negative thoughts, because we have millions of thoughts a day and we can't control all of them. But one thing that I learned at a very young age, and it was from the company that I was a part of, is that you can't control your first thought, but you can always control your second and you can make it more empowering. So
that's awesome. I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so another question for you. You have a degree in psychology and marketing.
I do.
How has that helped you in shaping? Those are clearly degrees and learning that you've experienced that have helped you lead to where you are now. So how's that helped, and how does that come into what you're doing now?
Sure. From a psychology standpoint, I mean, even from a young age, I just knew that I was a people person, and I like to talk, I like to listen, I love to connect with people. So I always had an interest and a passion really in understanding the human mind and why people do what they do or think the way that they do. So, just having that like innate interest, was one reason I went that direction. And then for a long time, I had ambitions of having my own practice, as a counselor. And then when I started with this company in Cutco and sales started taking off and being an interest for me, that's when I declared, the minor in marketing. And then I really realized that sales and psychology really go together because, relationships and knowing how to connect with people is very important in order to move sales forward. And now that I have the coaching business, it's been such an awesome way for me to really incorporate so much of what I learned in psychology as well, because coaching is all about the mind and the way that we're thinking. So
Nice. So what you decided to get a psychology degree, minor in marketing, you do coaching. What's next?
I mean, right now I'm just so excited for where I am currently, and just I'm in this season where my word for the year is just to receive the good things and receive the blessings and all the awesome things that have been happening. So I think that as long as I continue on the path that I'm on and have a heart for service in the process, I know that extraordinary things are going to continue to happen. So I'm not sure exactly, but I'm definitely open-minded, and I know it's going to be good things.
Nice.
So in a lot of the things that you just said, I heard expectations. So you expect to receive abundant blessings more and more. You've used the word abundant. How do you feel about expectations? Like, you've talked about mindset, you've talked about controlling your thoughts. So you clearly expect great things to come your way. What would you say as far as expectations and how people can expect good versus, expecting bad to come into their lives?
Right. I think that that's a great question because I've heard many people say, like, I don't want to, expect good things or expect this to go the right way because then if it doesn't, like, I'll be let down and I don't want to get my hopes up kind of thing. So I guess the best piece of advice that I could give to that is, like, we have to live our lives, like, truly believing and expecting that good things are happening and will continue to happen because what we put out into the world is what we're going to attract more of. I think that there is a intentionality behind just preparing for the worst or preparing for contingencies because there's many things in life that happen that we can't control. So being able to be prepared and be aware of challenge that could arise so that we know how to handle it if it happens, but still having an open heart and an expectation for good things is very, very important.
Boom.
Awesome.
Boom.
Love it.
Dang, Sam. I'm really enjoying this. We ask, you answer. We ask, we answer. You're just taking it, man. We're shooting these questions out and you're like coming back like, here you go. And you're just knocking them out of the park. Far right, home runs every single time. So being a business coach, psychology major, specializing in helping young entrepreneurs, ladies in particular, what would you want the young lady entrepreneurs to know about themselves in their journey?
Oh, goodness. I think that that's such a loaded question. I think that women specifically often struggle with this idea of like self-image and meeting expectation or approval of others and not feeling good enough or smart enough or thin enough or this or that. And so I think the most important thing is like, I don't know, like you are enough, like, and learning to like tap into your strengths and your gifts. And through that, building self-confidence, because I think that when a woman is confident, there is no stopping that woman.
Did you always feel like you were enough? Did you always feel confident?
No. And I think that that's one of the reasons why anybody that, is in coaching, I would imagine could have an ability to serve and help people because often it's through like our own challenge and struggle, right, that someone has overcome. Like through that story, that's how we can relate and connect to others. So no, my life has not always been a fire walk, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Because that's the fact. You can develop confidence. You can develop enoughness. Just because you don't feel that way in this moment doesn't mean that you won't feel enough and confident in the next moment. It can be developed. It's a muscle. Right. And it doesn't have to, and it's not going to come instantly. I'm sure you didn't wake up one day and become awesome Sam, right?
Definitely not. I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So
exactly. But you had to work at it. You had to get there. You had to get that mind straight and do the work. And now we get to relish in those results. Sounds like, ooh, okay.
I guess so.
Come on. Let's face it. Let's face it. Come on. You light up the room, girl. Look at you. You light up the room. You light up the room. So really quick, I know that you had an amazing life. You've done some great things. You are a mentor. I'm not sure if you see yourself as a mentor yet, but what would you say to the little girl who just got diagnosed with a disability? What would you say to her if she was sitting right here in front of you?
Ooh, man. There's so many things that I would want to say. So it's so hard to narrow it down to one. But I guess the first thing that comes to mind is just the idea of realizing that people are going to judge. People are going to have their own preconceived notions, maybe, of what you can and can't do. And you have to learn to block out the noise. And you have to tap into like your own inner truth and define who you are, like outside of what other people are seeing and what your challenges are, because you're a lot more than that.
So great.
Wow.
So
I
great.
thought my eyes are really drying out because this light up here.
I won't judge you.
Wow. Not for real. This light is really bright. No. Wow. That was so
great.
Man. I'm kind of speechless. I gotta think. Here we don't believe in just have it. We don't. I know there's a lot of podcasts and radio shows that zero space, white space is what they call it, is the worst thing ever, but not necessarily here. From time to time, we have these moments that just take your breath away. So we just stop,
soak it in,
and take a breath.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That was
speaking from the heart.
We could tell, but that was definitely one of those moments that you just felt, and with so much sincerity, so much love, so much giving, and not just great advice. Because I mean, the question was specifically for a child with a disability, but that's just great life advice.
Mm-hmm.
That's just great advice. That's just phenomenal advice for anyone who's struggling with anything right now, especially in this world of social media and judging and being in the center eye, even when you don't want to be, just because you're on a particular platform. So that's just really good advice, whether you're 1 or 100. So thank you for that big one.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
What else, Sam? What else? You kind of took my breath away with that one, girl. And I think Michelle too. We're both like, okay, we're both looking at each other like, what? Yeah. Now what, Ricardo? I don't know. Like, what else, Sam? Just whatever you want to share with the world about Sam.
You tell. I guess. Okay. The only. I guess one other thing on my heart that I can think of. I think that it's. We live in a world where it can be really easy to make judgments, right, about other people just based on what we see from an outside perspective. And so and by the way, this stems so far beyond just having a physical challenge. There's just so much judgment and stereotyping in the world. And there's this saying that I love that says, be kind to everybody that you meet, because everyone is fighting a battle and it may be nothing that you don't know anything about, right? So everybody has challenges, as I referenced earlier. And so that's why it just on my heart, like I've always been somebody that just like wants to show kindness and compassion as much as possible, because everybody has their own challenge and struggle. So the nicer that we can be, the more understanding and the more compassionate that we can be towards each other, I know it's going to help make the world better, ideally, like as cheesy as that might sound. And we just have to start small, like within our own circles, and eventually it can expand one person at a time.
What a timely message.
Compound effect. The compound effect of kindness.
Yeah. Right. What a timely message. I mean, not just with everything that's going on, and we're not going to really go into that, but just in general, what a timely message. Timeless message, if anything, too.
Right.
Wow. Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us today. This will be uploaded to iTunes, YouTube, and all our regular channels. To subscribe to the podcast, you can visit forceforgrowth.com. And to get a hold of Sam for, what are you available for? I know that this is for your coaching, but you're also available for speaking engagements and things like that, other interviews, right?
Mm-hmm. And I do business consulting, specifically in regards to like sales or recruiting. Those have really been my two main disciplines or areas of expertise. But I would say mostly for the life coaching.
Nice. So to get a hold of Sam, feel free to reach out to her at letyourlightshinecoaching@gmail.com.
You got it.
And she'll be more than happy to chat with you for business consulting, her coaching program, speaking engagements, and or interviews. As you can see, she just drops it, man.
She brings the fire.
She brings the fire without a doubt. So make sure you get a hold of her. And again, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can visit forceforgrowth.com to catch the replay and on our YouTube channel. And we'll be back on Monday, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ricardo, Michelle. This was wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. It was
thank you so
a
much
blessing for us.
Oh, for sure, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.